feliz me siento junto a ti. Cuando tú te acercas junto a mí, tus ojos castaños quiero ver. La pasión procede a encender. Me siento excitado al juntar esos labios rojos al besar. Me estimula viéndote bailar. Contigo a solas quiero estar. Eres lo que amo. Eres lo que quiero. Siempre
I'm already dancing with Gary Hobbs. Oh my God. ¿Sabes que no sabía que Gary Hobbs también cantaba mucho en español?
Es una sensación.
Increíble. No, I'm so excited with welcome to TLC Live. Today we have an amazing show, excited show. 5 de mayo es mañana, tomorrow, and TLC for the first time is going to have an amazing concert, and we are honored to have Gary Hobbs as the artist of the show tomorrow. I'm so excited. I was doing my research with him. I know you know him, and I know you.
Well, I know of him, but you know.
Of him, yes,
yeah,
and you know his music and everything,
right.
But I haven't because I'm from Colombia, so you know.
Well, we're going to turn you into a Tejano.
No, definitivamente. So I was doing my research and everything, and going to his YouTube channel, and I saw so many songs en español, y no lo puedo creer. Yo estaba emocionadísima.
Yeah, no, the genres that Gary performs are incredible. He is a sensation in the Tejano world here in Texas, and I'm assuming he's down in Eagle Pass, Texas, and I was just telling him he's my neighbor down in South Texas because I actually have a house not far from Eagle Pass, and so I consider myself a neighbor, and hopefully I'll run into him. But it is our honor today to have Gary Hobbs, and you know that last month we celebrated Tejano Day in Texas, which is every April 6th. Now in Texas, the governor has signed a resolution honoring the contributions of Tejanos in Texas. And nothing represents the Tejano world more than the music that is unique to the state of Texas and the Mexican-American community. And so we're honored to have one of the top Tejano artists on the program today. But not only that, he'll be performing tomorrow night on our Cinco de Mayo celebration at the West Wind Club. Unfortunately, it is sold out. We had capacity.
Fortunately.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately for those that weren't able to secure a ticket, but it is sold out because we have a maximum capacity, and we don't want the fire marshal to shut us down. But it is an honor to have Gary on the program. Gary, welcome. And I guess I want to start off because a lot of people are confused about what is Tejano music? What's the difference? Because a lot of Tejanos listen to country western, and they wear jeans and drive pickup trucks and wear boots, and they like rodeos and they're hunters. And so, kind of from your perspective, what is Tejano music?
That's a good question. Good morning, Andrea. Morning, Orlando.
Good morning.
I get asked that lately. What is Tejano music? And I honestly tell them I don't know. The truth is that music has been changing and evolving. When I started our career, we were hitting the ballrooms, and it just kept growing. It kept growing. But I always like to explain Tejano music. It's like a Spanish version of a country music two-step, a two-step country song. And but of course, we implement a lot of freestyle music, cumbia, stuff like that, and ballads. And ballads can come in different styles, but it's always evolving. But I think Tejano, the ranchera, is a Spanish version of a country two-step song, but it's implemented with everything from horns to accordion to keyboards, and we are very, very heavily keyboard orientated. But we carry 5 keyboards, so that covers a lot of ground.
Well, over the years, as you know, Andrea's Colombian and I'm Cuban. I was born in Havana, Cuba, but I immigrated to Texas in 1962. But over the years, I've become a big fan of Tejano music, and there is some concern about the genre. For example, there are very few terrestrial radio stations that play Tejano. Although, if when you drive through Bexar County, San Antonio, Texas, and Uvalde, for example, there are Tejano stations, and there's some very popular Tejano DJs. Uh, but one of the theories I heard, Gary, was that in the early, part of the state, the 1800s, early 1900s, when there was a big German influence in Texas, and there was a lot of discrimination. Let's just admit it. That Mexicans were not allowed into the dance halls generally run by the Germans, and but the German music, I guess the oompa, the accordion, all that stuff, kind of got picked up by the Mexican community along with country western, and sort of that is kind of the genre. Is that true? Have you heard that before?
Yes, I have. Widow Polkas, who is a famous DJ out of KDA in San Antonio, Texas, could give you the whole history to that. I sat down with him an afternoon at the radio station years ago, and he started to tell me the whole story. And it is a very lengthy story and very credible. And I think a lot of that is true. It did start with Germans here in Texas, but of course, I started hearing music when I was a young boy, back in the '70s, and so I was influenced by a lot of things. Living here on the border, my mommy Anita McLemore Hobbs, my mom sang with a trio and a mariachi here in the border, in Eagle Pass, Texas, and Piedras Negras, Coahuila. So I had the best of like both worlds, listening to both music, and but I was more into the pop. I had just started listening to music on the radio, and so I was listening to American music and listening to Spanish music, and Lord and behold, before you knew it, I was listening to what they call Chicano slash Tejano music. So I was into horn sections and keyboards and accordion. So I had the greatest mix of all here on the border.
Yeah, one of the exciting things, I drive through Savonal, Texas all the time, and when I bring guests out to Fort Clark down in Brackettville, I always remind them that Johnny Rodriguez was from Savonal, Texas. Johnny was I'm assuming you knew Johnny at some point in your life, but he
I met
he
him.
turned out.
I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Do you know Johnny?
I met him once or twice,
Yeah.
and funny that when we travel from San Antonio to Eagle Pass, we either come through Highway 35 down 57 through Brackerville, or we'll go through 90, and then we go through Sabinal. And every time we drive through Sabinal, I'm always thinking I may see Johnny somewhere out there, but I have met him once or twice. Of course, he's a legend.
Yeah. Okay, real quickly, because I know Andrea wants to ask you some questions, and I know you're limited on time. But real quick, for those people watching that don't know Gary Hobbs, give us a bio, the history. Where were you born? Where did you go to school? How'd you get into music? Maybe tell us a little bit about your family. Whatever you want our audience to know about Gary Hobbs.
Okay, so I was born at Air Force Base in Amarillo, Texas. That doesn't exist anymore. It's not there anymore. But I was born there at the Air Force Base. Months later, my mom and my father come back to Eagle Pass, Texas. My father originally is out of Bakersfield, California. My mom is here from Eagle Pass, Texas. I was raised in Eagle Pass. Loved to play ball, little league, stuff like that. When I was like 8, 9 years old, my mom said, if you want to play baseball, you're gonna have to start going to piano lessons, and I didn't really agree with her. But so my friends would have to wait outside while I had piano lessons. Then I could go out and play ball, and I could play ball. But I'm so indebted to my mom that I went through 8 years of classical piano lessons. I had 4 or 5 years of guitar lessons with a youth group across the river in Piedras Negras, Coahuila. And then I was playing trumpet before I got to junior high. I was in the band in junior high, high school. I went through choir in high school. I was who's who in choir in high school. And then and then my music career didn't start till I was about 19 or 20 years old. I had been playing in local bands since I was like 13 and a half, 14 years old. And I think the year was like 82. We went full time music and started at Hacienda Records, and the rest is history.
Well, Gary, well, tell us about the, you say that you've been your career for 39 years. And how did you start singing in Spanish?
Well, I live in the border, so I was speaking English and Spanish fluently in my house since I was a little boy. So, and then studying in Piedras Negras, pues tenía que hablar español con el profesor, profesor Valentín Villarreal. Él tenía una rondalla de juvenil, éramos como 40 estudiantes y claro, teníamos todas nuestras funciones y eventos en Piedras Negras. Y mi profesora de piano, ella se llamaba María Luisa Guzmán de Riojas. Ella era pianista de concierto, una profesora, pero bien hecha, siempre lo dije. Y con ella, ella me enseñaba lo clásico y ella veía que a mí me gustaba sentarme en el piano y yo comenzaba a tocar, perdón, música de pop y música de Chicago, cosas así. Y entonces una vez me para en medio de la lección y me dice, mira, si tú me pones atención en lo mío, yo te enseño lo que tú quieres aprender, que era pop. Entonces, con ella estuve 8 años, y con ella aprendí música clásica y aprendí pues a leer y tocar música en pop también.
Yeah,
Pero
like
so I've been doing Spanglish for a lot of years. Pero aquí en la frontera, pues yo hablo más español con mis hijos y tengo 7 nietos. Con ellos hablo más inglés. Así es que
Wow,
tengo la práctica cada día, ¿verdad?
that is great.
so. I got to ask the question because I get this question a lot, being a Latino, and everybody says, "Where'd you get your light eyes?" I got those from my father. So, where'd you get your light eyes?
That's my answer too. They'll say,
Okay,
"Where'd you get those green eyes?" I go, guess from my father. Yes.
okay.
Well, Gary, tell us about you're booked pretty much. I was looking at your website and your social media, and you are like all over Texas performing. And tomorrow you're gonna be here in Houston with us at the Cinco de Mayo event. So tell us about like and the good news is you're sold out. And we're gonna have food trucks. We're gonna have tacos de birria, churros, tacos regulares, micheladas. We're gonna have a lot of food outside of the concert. But everybody's so excited to have you here tomorrow for Cinco de Mayo.
Well, it's the first time that we're at the West Wind, so we're looking forward to it. We mainly this month, we are in Texas this month. We just did Kansas City and Topeka about 2 weeks ago. Into the summer, I think we may be going back to Florida. In my career, I've done about 35 states. I haven't hit all 50 states because I haven't found where they have Tejano music in Alaska and Puerto Rico, but I'm still looking, right? I'm still looking. But
Well, I,
we're looking forward to being with y'all, of course, at the West Wind. And Friday we are in Arlington, Texas. Saturday we are in Waxahachie, and Sunday we finish in San Antonio, Texas. So God's grace, this week we're pretty busy, and then recording too. So it's been a little bit hectic this week, but
so
last
I
week.
gotta ask you a question, Gary. Have you been watching the series called Yellowstone by Kevin Costner?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So my question is, have you played in Montana, and more specifically, at the old saloon in Emigrant, Montana?
No, but I've been circling the state. I've done Washington, Idaho, Oregon. I've been where else have I close to there? But I haven't been to Montana, but
You need to
that's one
invite
of those big
him.
states.
Well. So here's the deal. I have a house near the Yellowstone River in what's called Paradise Valley. And I'm going to talk to the management at the old saloon, and I'm going to see if we can get you booked at the old saloon in Emigrant, Montana. If you get the opportunity, and you can stay with me, I'd love to host you at my house and maybe drink
There
an
you
adult
go.
beverage.
There you go. I appreciate that. That'd be
Bueno,
another
vámonos.
feather to the cat.
All right, good.
That's awesome, Gary. Well, as I told you when we were talking on the phone before the show, and I told you that I'm from Colombia. You said, "Oh, la cumbia, el país de la cumbia."
Well,
Uh,
yeah, but where from Colombia are you from?
bueno, yo soy de Bogotá, pero la
Bogotá.
cumbia nos caracteriza en todo Colombia. I mean, we love cumbia,
Yeah.
and we have and many. I think many of Tejano music, it has like an influence of a cumbia.
Well, I have a dear friend, Elisa Gonzalez Rubio, who used to work for Coca-Cola USA. Ella es de Barranquilla. Así es que ella me platicaba todo de Barranquilla. Carlos vive. And, and Vallenato, la cumbia. And so I kind of know a little bit about Colombia, but because of Elisa, and she invited us to go down there, and we just haven't been able to get down there. But
Oh, you need
we
to
should take
go.
Tejano to Colombia too.
Ok, pero primero no le falten el respeto a los cubanos porque también parte de la
¿Qué le
música
pasa al
tejana
socio coño,
hay un
man?
poco de salsa, ¿no? Merengue, todo lo demás, right? You guys incorporate everything.
Yes, when I was recording for, I spent 13 years on major record labels in the 90s. I was with Capitol EMI Records, and the president and the vice president pues eran cubanos. So when I went to go do promotions and TV shows and stuff in Miami, I went to all the Cuban restaurants. And I picked up the lingo and me decían, allá dicen, un momentico, ¿qué le pasa, socio? Coño, man.
Oye, ven acá. Oye, ven acá.
Oye, chico. Oye, chico.
So Gary, I know that you recently signed a recording contract. I'm not real sure how how all this works in the music industry. Was that significant for you? And I understand it was Freddie Records. So can you tell us the significance of signing a contract and what that means for you in your career?
Well, Freddie Records is an iconic label that they've been servicing our music and culture at the highest level for decades. Now, when I started my career, I was at Hacienda Records in Corpus Christi. I was there a couple of years, and then we went we were at RCA International, we were at CBS International, and then we jumped right to EMI Capitol Records. And throughout these years, Freddie Records was already a baller. They were a major label in our genre, our industry. Major labels with all the stockholders and what have you, they came into the 90s, and they were pretty much here for about a decade. So like in 2001, I went independent with our own record label, and I was independent till about 2 weeks ago. But the landscape has changed, and music has changed a bit, and we kind of did our homework and wanted to make a push on some new things that we want to do. And Freddie Records was definitely on our mind, and it happened by chance. I saw Don Freddie Martinez Sr. at a Spurs basketball game in San Antonio, and I saw him there near the concession, and I met him 2 3 times. He's always been so gracious to me, very humble, and he told me, Gary, lo que se te ofrezca cuando quieras, háblame. And we have a mediator friend, Hector Gutierrez, out of Robstown, and he records there. One thing led to another, and Hector, I guess, asked him, man, how would you like to have Gary Hobbs on the label? And Freddie said, I would love that. And so it went like that for about a couple of months, and we prayed on it. We looked at our schedules, and finally got to Corpus, sat down. I was blessed to be able to sit down with Don Freddie Martinez Sr. for 4 hours in his studio just by ourselves, and we just talked and talked and talked, and we hit it off, and I decided to let the record label be the record label, and let me be the artist instead of me being the artist slash label slash whatever. You know, when you're self-employed, you do everything.
Right.
But they are fantastic at what they do, and they're going to do their job. We're going to do our job, and it's going to go really well. We're looking forward to
Well, we want to
recording
wish
the record.
you the best of luck, and I understand now that you've signed with a label, you are actually working on a new album.
Yes, as we speak. I'm also a songwriter, and so we started writing. We have friends of ours that are writers that were under our publishing, and Freddie Records has writers. So we're looking at a lot of material, and we've already gone through about 30 songs, and we have two, three maybes, but two or three for sure. We already started them, and it's about when we're independent. It kind of took me like a whole 8, 10 months to kind of like put it together the way I really wanted it. And now we're at like 3, 4 months that we have to get down and deliver it. So
You
we're looking forward
basically
to it.
get to work. So and Andrea,
Gary,
wait, Andrea and I have a request. We want you to come up with a jingle for our show that's a mix between salsa and cumbia.
oh my God, yeah, that will be awesome. That will
That's
be
easy.
awesome. That will be
I'll
awesome.
have it for
Well,
you.
my
I'll have it
question
for
with your new album is, it's very trendy these days, as you said, that music has been changing a lot, and we've been seeing a lot of collaborations between música de banda and reggaeton and things like that. In your new album, have you? I mean, I don't know if it's a possibility to see maybe Gary Hobbs mixing Tejano music with maybe reggaeton or another kind of music, another style.
well, Andrea, that are we already started doing that on the last CD. The name is Lo que amo, with that cumbia that you started the show with, and that's like half cumbia, and it goes to half reggaeton light. But we definitely are looking at other possibilities. But I think as Tejanos, we have always past that barrier where we implement other styles of music into Tejano rancheras or cumbias. It's been done, and the challenge is to continue to do it and expand it and bring it to people. And the number one thing with us is just to make people not happy. No, we want to make people dance. And
Yeah.
so la cumbia, the freestyle, the reggaeton is just great, to do the freestyle. So we're looking forward to continuing to do that. Cumbias with reggaeton, and cumbias with a little bit of hip hop stuff,
Yeah.
and even implementing some of that stuff on our Tejano rancheras.
Great. Well, we're looking for that and looking for the concert tomorrow and also for the jingle for Texas Latino
Yeah,
Conservatives.
we got to make sure you twist his arm when you see him tomorrow. Remind him to do our jingle. Gary, we want to thank you. I understand that you've got a busy schedule and you probably got to get back in the recording studio or maybe go write, whatever you need to do. You've been generous with your time. I can tell you that you've been a tremendous hit here in Houston. We're excited that you're sold out basically at capacity tomorrow. So we hope that everybody enjoys it. I do want to make a comment, because I was reading on the Facebook comments that somebody said, because our name is Texas Latino Conservatives, that we were bringing politics into music. We're not bringing politics into music. We're exposing and honoring Tejanos, and we have asked Gary to perform. We don't know what Gary's politics are. He's not endorsing any politics. Gary's just going to perform for our fellow Tejanos in Houston. That's all it is. So I don't want anyone to think that we're bringing music into the political world. We're not. We as Latino conservatives in Texas are honoring the contributions of Tejanos, and we have asked Gary to perform, and he is going to perform, I'm sure, as he would perform for any organization that invites him. So Gary's not taking a political position, and we're not using it as politics. We simply want to honor Tejanos in
Well,
Texas. So
if we were all of us, if we were only God fearing men and women, that's all.
right,
But
that's exactly right.
I sure do appreciate. Uh, I had one phone call like that too, but that's a topic for another day. But I'm a God fearing man. I am a conservative, but this is all about tomorrow. about tomorrow's concert, and we want to invite everyone to come out to the West Wind Club. First time for Gary Hobbs and the usual suspects there at the West Wind. And so all of Houston, surrounding areas, all those Tejano music family and friends that support us, we want to invite you to, well, you say it's sold out, but we want to thank them for all the support.
Awesome. And then let's get you up to Montana. I look forward to it. Listen, God bless. Thank you. Congratulations on signing your record label, and we'll see you tomorrow evening.
Muchas gracias, Gary.
Thank you.
Chao, chao. Nos
Gracias,
vemos mañana.
Andrea. Gracias. Thank you. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Gracias. Wow. I'm so excited for tomorrow.
What a gentleman, huh?
I know.
I mean, it's just, you know, the Tejano culture is just full of jewels everywhere all across the state of Texas. I mean, whether it's in business world, whether it's lawyers, whether it's musicians, whether it's, you know, entrepreneurs, teachers. I mean, in the military, we have Tejano leaders, Mexican Americans, Latinos everywhere that are making contributions to this great state. So I want to make sure that people understand this is not where, you know, Gary admitted it, that he tends to be conservative, as we've always said, that the Latino culture is conservative. And but that's not the purpose. This is the purpose is of it, to honor Tejanos and to entertain our neighbors and friends here in Houston, and we're just honored to have Gary with us tomorrow night. So
as we're celebrating tomorrow, Cinco de Mayo, we're an amazing concert with Gary Hobbs. Also, we need to encourage and celebrate also that we have the privilege to vote
and the freedom.
And the freedom
That's
to
what
vote.
we celebrate.
Yes.
Freedom in America.
Correct.
That's why we're here as immigrants. And it is our responsibility, regardless of where we're from, regardless of our race, regardless of our sexual orientation, as citizens, it is our responsibility to go vote on Election Day. And there's no more important elections than what's coming up in
May 7, this Saturday.
Yeah.
Many people don't know that is elections on May 7. Actually, I am educating myself about that, and I was reading about it, and that's why I wanted to bring a professor, a doctor, a professor that knows about this topic very well to educate myself, but also to educate our audience, because I know you've been in politics so many years, so you know.
Are you saying I'm old?
No. No.
Okay.
You're very, no se dice viejo, dice
Maduro.
experimentado.
Maduro.
Experimentado. So that's why we invited Dr. Chris Wolfe. He is from University of St. Thomas, and he's going to talk about and explain to us about the upcoming elections on May 7. And I want to thank again Claudia Deschamps for putting this together. So, Professor Dr. Chris Wolfe, welcome to TLC, and this is your second time with us, and we appreciate your time.
It's great to be back on, Andrea and Orlando, and happy Cuatro de Mayo. And
Cinco de Mayo, tomorrow, Cinco de Mayo. Yeah. But today is Cuatro.
Okay, so this Saturday, though, is when you can vote in person for the 2 amendments on the ballot. The way they do participation in ballot initiatives in Texas is they write these in the legislature, and then they are put on the ballot for the people of Texas to vote on, majority up or down. And this one, to me, seems like a bit of a no-brainer that you would want to vote for both of these if you're a conservative in Texas, because these are tax cuts, and in particular, they're tax cuts on property. And there has been recently a dramatic increase in property values in Texas. And you might say, oh, that's a good thing. You know, we can sell the property for more. But the property value has gone up so much because not only demand, but also think about the inflation going on. And there's going to be probably raising of interest rates that the Fed might do. And so that means property values have been valued at a much higher rate. And that means the taxes that are, percentage attached to those, they've gone up a lot too. And so some people are hurting with the property taxes. In this last primary for governor, Don Huffines ran with on a on a platform of eliminate property taxes. And I thought that was a little bit far-fetched, because we do need property taxes to pay for schools, but over time, the Texas Public Policy Foundation and other conservatives, they're recommending we move more towards sales taxes at the state level rather than have property taxes be the primary way we do this. So that's just kind of the general overview of property taxes. I mean, and don't forget, we don't have state income taxes in Texas, which is wonderful. But so we got to get the money from somewhere. But probably with these fluctuations that happen on personal property, we probably want to move more toward sales taxes and also cut spending. But I've read that some places increasing by 10%. Texas apparently has the 6th highest property taxes in the nation. And so these two amendments in particular, they help people over 65. So that's the Prop 1. And then the second one, and disabled people who have had property tax increases. I'm sorry, who were not helped by a property tax decrease in 2019. And then the second one is for the homestead. So it's not on business property. This is just for people's homes. And so I think that's a very good idea. These two property taxes, good start, you might say, these two property tax relief amendments, just because, you don't want, your taxpayers, especially older people, to feel like they have to move because they can't pay the property tax anymore. And I went to graduate school in California, actually. And out in California, past 2 decades, tons of people have been moving from California to Texas and other places because it's too hard. It's too expensive to live there. I moved out. I moved back to the South, because of that same reason. But that was going on back in the 70s. They were almost having everybody move out back then because people couldn't hold on to their property because the property taxes were going up so much. And so in California, they did this thing called Prop 13, which froze in place the property taxes that they had. And so older people who had houses in California could afford to stay there at least for another few decades, you might say. That's what these amendments coming up on Saturday are about.
Is Prop 13 still the law of the land in California? Because I've always found that fascinating. For example, it was my understanding that if you bought a house in California, say in San Bernardino or in any other county or city, and you paid $500,000 for that house, the assessed property tax would always be $500,000 until you sold it. And then they would again attach the fair market value to it. And is that still the case?
Yes, it is. And so, but the interesting thing is, it also applies to business property. And so it led to some unintended consequences, as the economists say, where some people were just holding on to old property, even though the business maybe was gone. So that was one aspect that was interesting with the California Prop 13. The other thing is, they're freezing the rates, but the rates are super high out there now. And so the freezing in of rates, that has to do with the Prop 1 we're dealing with here was in 2019, they cut the rates somewhat, and people over 65 had theirs frozen in place. And so because it was frozen in place, they didn't get the drop that they should have gotten. So really, this bill is just redressing what people over 65 should have gotten anyway. This bill put forward by Paul Betancourt, Republican here in Houston, it allows them to unfreeze for a second, lower the rate, and then freeze back in place if you're over 65.
Good. As you know, Professor, I've served in public life. I've served on the Houston City Council, which every year had to set the tax rate. One of the proudest moments I've had in my public service career was that I was able to vote for a tax rate decrease as a member of the Houston City Council way back in about 2000. And, but that rarely happens. But one of my complaints as a taxpayer, and certainly as a former elected official, both in the county and the city, is that the current system we have allows the elected officials, the elected representatives that are in charge of the tax rate to hide behind the appraisal district appraisals. So what they say is, well, my house was worth $350,000 last year, and this year the appraisal district went out and assessed the value at $430,000. So obviously, your tax bill is going to increase, not because your tax rate increased, but because the assessment increased. And so politicians who are responsible for setting the tax rate just throw their hands up in the air and go,
Not my fault.
It's not my
Yeah.
fault. That's the real estate market, and that's the law. What they don't tell you is that if they were leaders, they would fight for a lower tax rate. So basically, I understand it costs money to fund government. No one's going to argue that we shouldn't fund firefighters and police officers and infrastructure and roads and wastewater treatment plants and community health care facilities and libraries. We all agree on that. But as you pointed out, the tax rate increase of nearly 10% year over year is ridiculous. Nobody receives a pay raise of 10% every year, yet our taxes, our property taxes, which as you already mentioned, is the 6th highest in the United States, we're getting slammed. And you hit the nail on the head, especially the elderly. And so the issue is you never own your home, even though you paid the principal off, you rent it from the government. Mm-hmm. And it's unfair. Now, there's a lot
that's the other thing. If you rent, these property tax increases are being passed on to you when your rent goes up. Just wanted to mention that,
Correct.
So you don't get out of it completely,
Correct.
Nobody does.
And there's been proposals that, well, we can diminish the property taxes and increase the sales tax rate. Look, I'm in favor of, as Huffines pointed out, and I agree with you, as impractical, but I can tell you that a sales tax rate is more transparent because it forces elected officials, namely the Texas legislature, to set the tax rate so that the entire world can see. Right now, city councils and commissioners hide behind appraisal districts and go, no es mi problema. It's like, yeah, it is your problem because you owe it to if you claim to be a conservative on the commissioner's court, you owe it to the homeowner to lower their tax rate. We've got that battle in the city of Houston. Remember, there was a referendum in the city of Houston to cap the increase year over year, and that's been tied up in the courts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the capping the increase, that's a good idea, especially when you have what people call gentrification, where you got a kind of a bad neighborhood, and then some kind of cool coffee shop shows up. And now all the property rates start going up. And so everybody's like, now I can't live in this neighborhood because the property taxes are going up so much, So the caps and the relief bills on property tax, I think a very good idea. And the other thing, so you had an important insight there, Orlando. Another important insight that I think about with this is that, in some of these discussions I've been reading about this amendment, there's some people who are saying, well, we don't know how we're going to make up the money after this time, and we have the money this time because we didn't spend it, in this 2019 session, but so my question is, what were you going to spend that extra money on, if not a tax cut? It should always be a tax cut if you have leftover money like that. Because it's not like this money just belongs to you now as the government. Finding some inventive way to spend it. It should be a tax cut.
Yeah, no, this is what concerns me about creating new streams of revenue. For example, I was talking to a couple of folks the other day that are on the ballot here in Harris County. decades and decades ago, we started the Harris County Toll Road Authority. And then we were told that once the debt was paid off for certain segments of the toll road, that the tolls would go away. Well, that didn't happen. And it's now a stream of revenue for commissioners. And so that's a tax on commuters. And people don't realize that. And so this is why I'm always cautious about creating new streams of revenue. I'm for eliminating one and creating another one that forces elected officials to set the rate. But anyway, you're right. But government, once they latch on to a stream of revenue, they're never going to give it up, and they'll find ways to spend that money.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
the problem.
Dr. Wolfe, let's explain to the audience what they're gonna see on Saturday when they're gonna vote, because not only is property taxes, but also it's school districts.
Mm-hmm. You're going to see with these two amendments. Let's see. With the two amendments, it's going to be a lot of language, but then get down to the bottom line and where it says the last sentence of the paragraph. Some people could get confused if they read the first part of it.
Yeah.
But it's just, you got to have those details in there because it's going to be a law. But it'll get down to the bottom line and say, would you like to vote for this tax, decrease on property tax? And I would vote yes on both of those. And so the actual text, the last line of both, would you, prop one is, the ballot language is, authorizing the legislature to provide reduction in the amount of ad valorem taxes. And then for two, it's increasing amount of residents' homestead exemption. Now, the schools, how are they going to,
so we should vote yes and yes to reduce property taxes.
Correct.
And then the other one is, both we should vote yes.
Yes on both.
Yes. Okay.
For conservatives.
And now on the
yes.
school districts.
I think what Andrea was referring to, and I often tell people, Professor, is that the most important races in America are the races for school board trustees. And so some districts will have candidates for school district trustee. Is that correct?
Okay. I wasn't thinking about that. Andrea, is that what what you were talking about?
Yes, correct. Yeah, because we're also going to vote this Saturday for that.
See, I'm not as familiar with those races, but I've mainly just been kind of studying the property tax
Gotcha.
issue. But I agree, the school board races, that is a big deal. Just think about the school board races and the debates over critical race theory that happened in Virginia. My goodness. That led to a new governor being elected in Virginia. The aftermath of all that, and so, it's incredibly important because not only do we need to have money for our children in public schools, we need to make sure what's being taught in the public schools is good, and a good education, and not critical race theory. So
Hey,
I
Professor,
agree.
yeah.
Important.
I get this question a lot. Why does Texas have so many constitutional amendments? So can you explain why the Texas Constitution is amended ad nauseum?
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily make it bad. I would like.
I agree.
To argue it has to be amended because the burden is on because Texas Constitution is a pretty conservative constitution in itself. It's a small government constitution, ultimately. And so the burden is always, you have to be allowed to spend some money. You have to be allowed to do different things. And so because of that, we're the second most amended state constitution in the country. And it's also the second longest state constitution. But that's because in general, it's a small government state constitution. So you must be allowed to do things. And so they made it very easy to amend the state constitution. It's a lot harder to amend the United States Constitution. But those two constitutions, they might be trying to do different things. They should be trying to do for different things. The U.S. Constitution is trying to do the national powers, and the state is dealing with state issues. And so that's why I would say we have so many amendments, is because it's easy to do. And it's also almost the Constitution is designed to be amended and be longer.
I'm curious, you said we're the second most amended. Who's the first most amended in the country?
Alabama.
Oh, my goodness.
Alabama, for whatever reason. Yeah, they got a very, very long one.
Wow.
But so back to 1876, that's the Texas state constitution. And so I'd like to come back and talk with y'all sometime about the state constitution of Texas. I love teaching it. And so if that's an opportunity at some point, I'd like to do that with y'all.
That's right. Before we let you go, Professor, please explain to our audience the importance to go and vote this Saturday, because many people don't pay attention to these elections that they think is a small elections, but I think it's very, very important for all of us.
I mean, it's in very important practical issues where this is immediate. This is immediate that we would have tax cuts. This is immediate that you would elect these people to be on these school boards. And guess what? You get more bang for your buck in these small elections because fewer other people are going to be voting. So you'd actually be getting more bang for your buck than when there's many people voting. And so be very smart to do that. And these people are closer. These issues are closer to us. And so local politics is incredibly important. It affects us in an immediate way.
Yeah, I always tell people, when was the last time you called the president to come pick up your garbage, or your congressman, or to staff?
I did that last week.
You never talk to your congressman or the president of the United States. Yet everybody gets wrapped around the axle, and that's good about voting for presidential elections every 4 years. But people forget the most important elections happen, in the off years. This is an important election. This has to do with property taxes, capping the rate of increase, and establishing the exemptions for the seniors, and then you got the school board elections, and then finally we're going to have the elections for runoff for county judge, and
it's going to be May 24th.
Texas Railroad Commission and Attorney General. So we have those are people that touch your lives every day. Those are the important elections. They're all important, but these, I argue, have more of an impact on your daily life than the President of the United States.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Professor, thank you so much for explaining to us what is going on May 7. And I encourage everybody, yesterday was the last day of early voting. I don't know how many people knew about that, but you still have a chance this Saturday. Apparently, it's not going to rain, but it's going to be very hot. But
there won't be long lines unless Harris County manages unless Harris County manages to screw up the election. Unless Harris County manages to screw up the election again, like they've managed to do the last couple of elections.
Yeah, so hopefully people realize how important is this for everybody. Schools and property taxes. I pay more property taxes than my actual mortgage. It's crazy.
Wow.
And so...
Yeah, because you have to rent your house from the government.
Yeah, so it's in our hands to change that.
Yeah.
And how are we going to do? Go and vote. May 7th. That's very, very important.
Professor Wolfe, thank you. We look forward to having a discussion with you about the Texas Constitution, perhaps on the, on Independence Day. And so keep up the good work at the University of St. Thomas. We want to thank the University of St. Thomas for being a resource for us,
and
all
Claudio
things
de Champs.
politics. And we look forward
Thank you
to
very
seeing
much,
you
guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Gracias.
Gracias. Thank you so much. And talking about Cinco de Mayo, we're going to have Gary Hobbs, as we have him at the beginning of the show, talking about not only his career, but his performance tomorrow here in Houston with the TLC for the first time. It's our first concert. I'm so excited about that.
Yeah, I just, now we're being asked to do it around the state of Texas. I didn't want to be a concert promoter, but I guess we're
I
going to
know.
be. But anyway, there is believe it or not, Tejano music is still popular. I know a lot of people push back, but it is a very popular form of music. And as Gary explained, it's a combination of, country music and German music and Mexican music. And so we're looking forward to having Gary Hobbs here in Houston. We're really honored that he has decided to come. The other event that we've got coming up, and it's on our website at TexasLatinoConservatives.com, is our Salud a Ti, which translated means health to you. This is an important event we're hosting on May the 14th at the Azteca Farmers Market off of I-10 and Wayside near the Denver Harbor community on the east end of Houston. And the reason this is important is because we at Texas Latino Conservatives are not about just having fun and Tejano music and eating, carnitas and barbacoa and all that good stuff, but we're also about the importance of the health of our community. And there is a crisis in the Latino community, and that is obesity, especially among juveniles, young people, because of the excessive amount of sugar that they consume, the lack of nutritional knowledge, and to some extent, the cultural habits of mamacitas y abuelitas and the way they cook, and that they don't realize that there are healthier alternatives.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the lack of access to health care for our community. Obesity has a disproportionate impact on what we call type 2 diabetes. So if you're obese, you're putting a huge strain on the liver. The liver starts to malfunction. You don't produce enough insulin, doesn't break down the sugar. I'm not a doctor, but this is what I understand because I've been studying the issue. And then it leads to diabetes. Untreated, undiagnosed diabetes is expensive to the taxpayers of Texas because it leads to blindness, renal failure, which is bad kidney functions, amputations of the extremities, blindness, cardiovascular disease,
all kind
strokes,
of
heart attacks, and that's expensive to treat.
It's less expensive to buy healthy food, to have a healthy lifestyle, than eat whatever, and then later on in life you're gonna end up with a lot of disease.
Yeah, and so we're on May 14th at the Azteca Farmers Market at Wayside and I-10. Come by for a couple of hours. We're going to have medical professionals there talking about the importance of a healthy lifestyle. We're going to have some medical screening, which they'll do some basic screening to see what your risk factors are. There'll be referrals there. I think we have Vecino clinics coming, which are federally qualified health clinics.
Zumba classes. It's going to be a
We're
fun event.
We're going to have cooking classes by a famous chef
in town,
a Mexican chef in Houston. We're going to have activities for the kids. We're going to have rifas, so we're going to have a good time.
And it's everything at no cost.
No cost.
It's free.
It's free. So go to our website, TexasLatinoConservatives.com, and click on Salud a Ti, which means health to you, and stop by and join us and pick up a couple of healthy items and try to cook them that evening for your family. The important thing is to make sure that you folks are aware that obesity does lead to very serious health complications, and we want to focus public policy on the healthcare issues affecting the Latino community, not only in large urban areas like Harris County, but along the Rio Grande River and South Texas. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us, and we're going to stay focused on the health of our community at large. By the way, you don't need to be Hispanic to attend. The programs are all going to be bilingual. It's going to be a lot of fun. We may even have a DJ, right?
We're going to have a DJ with DJ Marcos and his robots. Va a tener unos robots.
Okay.
Pero esto es Saturday, May 14 from 12 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Esto es el sábado 14 de mayo a partir de las 12 del mediodía hasta las 2 de la tarde. But not only you're going to have access to all these free and fun activities, but also you can buy your own groceries at Azteca Farmers Market, veggies and fruits, artesanías, Mexican candies, tacos. We're going to have all kind of things. And it's going to be a fun Saturday afternoon for the whole family.
and you'll learn something about healthier lifestyles. So we'll hope you'll join us tomorrow night for Gary Hobbs at the West Wind Club at Gun Road and 290. Doors open at 6. Gary's performance starts at 7 o'clock, and you have to RSVP. Unfortunately, we don't have any more rooms, so we look forward to seeing all those that RSVP'd. Make sure you bring your valid Texas driver's license because you've got to be over 21 to attend. So we look forward to seeing you tomorrow night. And if not, we look forward to seeing you at the Azteca Farmers Market May 14th. All of that is on our website, TexasLatinoConservatives.com. And as a reminder, we are a nonprofit organization. We rely on the generosity of Texans and Tejanos to keep our operations going. So if you want to join Texas Latino Conservatives, go to our webpage and just hit join and become part of the TLC family. We just want to make sure that the Latino community in Texas participates in the electoral process, but more importantly, that they vote their values. Whatever those values are, you vote. And if Tejanos and Mexican Americans and Latinos vote our values, Texas will remain a leader in the nation as it always has been. So that's my comment for the day. God bless you. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. If not, we'll see you next Wednesday.
Nos vemos el próximo miércoles. Chao, chao. Gracias.